In this episode, I'll be unboxing the recent film-focused Jessica Lange Blu-ray box set from Imprint Films. Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies. This is a YouTube video podcast where we explore all things cinema, and I'm very excited to be unboxing and talking about this incredible box set from Imprint Films on 4 movies starring Jessica Lange. To me, is one of the greatest film actors of all time, and this is a box set that every actor, whether you're an aspiring actor, a veteran, you have some experience, everyone should get this and study her work because she is a phenomenal talent. So let's dive in. Here's our front here, and on the side, we have the spine numbers as well. So the films are Crimes of the Heart, Music Box, Losing Isaiah, and Francis. And then we have the very lovely Jessica Lange on the side. And a quote on the back. Great photo. That's from Francis with her and Sam Shepard. They fell in love on the making of this, and of course were together for many years. There's a quote on the back. I'll just read the quote out. "For me, acting was always a way to explore emotions, to dip into the well and really try to reach rock bottom down there. That was the most exciting part of it. I have to keep trying stuff I've never done before." I think that quote is really a great illustration of a lot of qualities about her that to me shine, which is her depth, her range of emotion, her intensity is stunning. So let's jump in. So we have our little, I love these little lids. I mean, these are the passion and care that goes into these releases and box sets are just from Imprint are just incredible. And it really looks great on the shelf. So we have our 4 films here. I think I'll go in order of spine number, but before I jump into that, there's a little photo here. If you want to take a screenshot, gives you a rundown of everything inside. So this was stuck to the back of it. It's like a little sticky thing that sticks here. So I just took it off and it fits nicely inside. But that gives you a rundown of everything. But I will look closely at what we have. So starting with 243. So 243 is Francis from 1982. I'll read the plot on the back. A 16-year-old girl is swept off her feet into the glory of Hollywood, but with her strong political opinions, a flamboyant love life, and then imprisonment, she falls further into the depths of misfortune. I'll read the special features. 1080p high-definition presentation from a 2K scan. Audio commentary by director Graeme Clifford and David Gregory. Audio commentary by film historian / critic Matthew Asprey-Gear. Reflecting on Francis, interview with producer Jonathan Sanger from this year, 2023. Goodnight, Francis, interview with director Graeme Clifford from 2023. Deco Dreams, the art and style of Francis, interview with art director Ida Random from this year as well, 2023. A Hollywood Life, Remembering Francis featurette. Archival interview with actress Jessica Lange, 1983. There's an image. Here's the image of the back. If you want to take a screenshot of it and read it over to yourself about all the incredible special features. I should be careful not to say Graham. It's because it's meant to be pronounced Graham. Graham, yes. I had to double check because I used to live in England, and of course here we say the name Graham. And I would always get pronounced because I worked with someone named Graham, and I would constantly get corrected. Graeme Clifford. Let's take a look at the inside. There's the sticker on the disc. Such a great photo of Jessica as Francis. And then I love that. See, again, I mean, I love their packages because the artwork, the design, the features, the presentation, the photos are so good. So I saw this earlier this year because I read a biography on Jessica Lange called, which is fantastic, An Adventurer's Heart. I highly recommend reading it. It's by Anthony Uzarowski, and I had Anthony on my show. I'll leave the link in the description box if you want to watch my interview. And, you know, it had occurred to me that there was a number of her films I hadn't seen as I was reading the biography, and Frances was a film that really, you know, was a major breakthrough for her. You know, she was in King Kong, she was in All That Jazz, she was in The Postman Always Rings Twice, and she had been in another comedy, and her career hadn't quite launched. And this year was also when she did Tootsie, and then she did this, and she won an Oscar for Tootsie, and she was nominated for Frances. But this was a real groundbreaking film for her. And again, the acting is just, it's stunning. It's hard to watch because, you know, all the things that happen to Frances in the film is hard to take. You know, you see her get the lobotomy, the rape, the abuse, the being put into mental institutions. I mean, and you see the way she responds with such, you know, terror and anger and fear and violence, and it's a really watching a woman go mad. And Jessica was interested in those kind of roles, and so she brings such a depth and intensity to it that, you know, it's really unbelievable. I mean, there's one scene where she's in the institution and she's talking to one of the doctors, and she suddenly just snaps. I mean, her face just absolutely transforms, and it's seamless, and it just, you can see this, you can feel it off the screen as she stands up slowly, and you can feel this intensity, and then it just pours out of her. I mean, I have some problems with the film overall. It's always tricky with biopics because often when these biopics come out, then stories come out about what didn't actually happen. And then the families get involved and they talk about, you know, things that didn't happen, and they have problems with the script. I mean, I'm not saying this is always the case, but very often it's the case. And to me, it's always difficult to totally engage with a biopic because you can't help but think what's real and what isn't, particularly someone like Frances Farmer, who was famous and known by the public. They seem to sort of, even though they bring you through the intensity of what she experienced, and it's hard, it's raw and hard to watch. It sort of paints her mother as like a pure villain and Frances as a pure victim. I'm not saying she didn't experience horrendous things, and I'm not saying that she wasn't a victim, but it's sort of cut and dry with like the people doing bad things to her as the villains, and she's like the protagonist victim. And so, you know, that there's a lot of truth to that, but I've also read, you know, some things about, like, you know, people have said, well, her mother wasn't as bad. She was bad, but they make her worse in the film. And so, you know, again, it has a simplistic approach. I mean, and again, also we saw so many horrendous things happen to her that when we then get to the lobotomy scene, it just feels like, oh my God, really? And apparently that is not true. That didn't happen to her. And so, you know, again, it just feels like they maybe could have found some more complexity in the relationships. But that being said, again, this is a study for every single actor. To see this is such an incredible performance, not just from Jessica, but also from Kim Stanley, who wasn't in many films. And, you know, in the 50s, she was known as like the female Brando because, again, she just had that raw intensity that was stunning. And you know, it's just unbelievable to see the depths of feeling she can get to as an actor. She was so, and she wasn't in a lot of movies, but this is one of them. And again, it's so great that we have this now on Blu-ray, because this is hard to find. I do know it has been released in the past on DVD, I believe, or I'm not sure about Blu-ray. If anyone knows, comment below and let me know. But I know when I had to watch it earlier this year, I had a hard time finding it. And so you really, now that we have it and it's so accessible from Imprint Films, this is so fantastic. So I highly, highly recommend getting that. I watched one of the features so far with Graeme Clifford. There it is, Goodnight Francis, which I really enjoyed. And he was an editor, actually. And this was his first feature film that he directed. And, you know, he talked about how much he wanted to do it, how much he loved the story. You know, he talked about having, you know, he was get Jessica to do, you know, a number of takes, and sometimes she'd be like, well, I'm not going to do it again. You know, you're going to have to take what's there, because it's hard. I mean, and I know Anthony talked about that in the book. I mean, these are raw scenes, and you know, he'd ask her to pick it up the next day, and he said she, you know, in one particular scene he's talking about, he goes, you know, we would do it again the next day, and it was better, right? So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into the rest, but this is fantastic. So, what do we have after that? 244. Oh, Crimes of the Heart. Here's the front, and here's our back, if you want to take a screenshot of that. And let's dive in here. Again, gotta love those photos on the inside. This again is incredible, and not just Jessica, but you got Sissy Spacek and Diane Keaton. I love that picture on the inside. So let's just read the synopsis here. Babe has just shot her husband. Lenny worries that men will no longer find her attractive, and Meg returns from Hollywood after a nervous breakdown. The three eccentric sisters reunite and support each other through their exasperating succession of mistakes and misfortunes. So we have a 1080p high-definition presentation from a 2K scan, audio commentary by Karen Horsley, author of the American South Gothic on Screen. That was done this year, 2023. Everyday Life Well Observed. Director Bruce Beresford on Crimes of the Heart. That's also from 2023. Southern Discomfort. Playwright Beth Henley on Crimes of the Heart. Archival interviews with director Bruce Beresford, actresses Jessica Lange, Sissy Spacek, Tess Harper, playwright Beth Henley, and producer Freddie Fields. Those were all from 1986 when it came out. And we have the theatrical trailer. So again, this was another one I saw earlier this year, and it's very, very good. And it's based on a play. And I watched the interview with Bruce Beresford, and he talked about, you know, how much he loved the play and how much he wanted to do it as a film. And it was something interesting, you know, because it's heavy on dialogue, naturally, because it's a play. You know, he didn't want it to just turn into filming a play. So he found all kinds of cinematic ways to tell the story, and always made sure that they had something to do, that it was all the dialogue isn't around, you know, a coffee table. So he said a lot of it was the movement and the blocking. And I thought, well, that's actually really interesting. And yeah, it doesn't just feel like a film play. It feels like, you know, it has a real cinematic quality and storytelling, you know, and it's again, the performances are exceptional, not just Jessica, but Diane Keaton, sorry, is one of my favorite actors. I mean, she's just incredible. Sissy Spacek. And what's so fascinating about this film is that it has this combination of comedy and drama, even and all the three sisters, they have real problems, like, and they're all distinctive, which really makes them pop. I mean, no one's like a one-dimensional. No one's just serving the other one's story. It's all, you get individual perspectives and individual problems. And so really what keeps things, you know, at least somewhat optimistic, I suppose, for them in their problems is their love for one another, and there's and the bond between sisters, and you know, the everyday life, just like Bruce Beresford said, you know, it's depicting everyday life, well observed. And there's a scene that always really broke my heart, where, you know, Sissy Spacek towards the end of the film, and she's getting really, really upset, and Jessica Lange is trying to, you know, cheer her up as best as she can and talk her out of what she say, of some of her, you know, not talk her out of it, but trying to help her. And you see how Jessica is responding, again, in such a sad way, because she's not trying to get emotional because she wants to help her sister, but you can see that it's tearing her apart to see her sister in such distress. And so it's a really touching, emotional scene. So again, another Blu-ray loaded with features, and again, performances that actors should study. So highly recommend this one as well. After that, this was a first viewing for me, which is Music Box. I'll read the back here, the summary. Chicago attorney Ann Talbot agrees to defend her Hungarian immigrant father against accusations of heinous war crimes committed 50 years earlier. This is a 1080p high-definition presentation from a 2K scan. Audio commentary by Gary Krodas, editor of Ciniste magazine. That was done this year, 2023. Life Imitates Tragedy. Screenwriter Joe Esteras, I hope I have that right. Music Box from 2023. Through a Different Doorway. Production designer Janine Opalwall on Characters and Their Environments, 2023. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Janine. Folk Dancing and Homebrew Fluency. Actor Michael Rooker on The Actor's Craft from 2023. Filmstruck, the early career of actor Lucas Haas, 2023. A Time of Trial, an original featurette. Profile, Taking Risks. Costa-Gavras, who was the director of the film, and Irwin Winkler, the producer. Original featurette. Archival interviews with actress Jessica Lange, actor Armin Mueller-Stahl, and director Costa-Gavras. And that was in '89 when the film was released. And the theatrical trailer. So this was a first viewing for me, and I had never heard of it before reading Anthony's book earlier this year. And, you know, again, it's a really compelling story and a really interesting story. But overall, the film fell flat to me because they rely on they take a thriller approach. Nothing against thriller, but it was all plot twists, and because they go to court, it's like last minute evidence, last minute witnesses, you know, things that just, you know, evidence that pops up out of the blue, and blackmail, and it really took away from the characters and what was really, I mean, we have a really interesting concept with this man who's being accused of war crimes, you know, heinous war crimes, in Hungary during World War II, and his daughter, who's a lawyer, defending him, and she believes he didn't do it. And, you know, I mean, again, what was interesting during it is you see that she begins to doubt whether he, you know, she doubts what she was saying because she didn't believe he did it. And, you know, they do these things cinematically, like she's hearing testimony in the court and from the witnesses saying that, you know, he raped them, or he, you know, people that he killed. And so she's getting very, very nervous and emotional. And, you know, it just shoots to her sort of rubbing her hands together. And so I thought, you know, again, telling you something visually. And also her son says that, my grandfather said the Holocaust was didn't happen. It was an exaggeration. And she gets really mad at her father for saying that, and he denies it, and apparently it was her other grandfather. So, you know, immediately she didn't even think of that. She goes right after him, because she, you know, again, she was maybe started to think that he was a Nazi. So, you know, it's just a shame that we didn't really get into the complexity of this man, and, you know, why he did what he did, and why he's he really denies it during the court. I mean, is he just trying to get away with it? I mean, there's a scene where he breaks down in the courtroom, and because of what he's being accused of. And again, as the audience, you're guessing, did he do it? Did he not do it? You're kind of you're swaying on both sides. And it was interesting even to see, because, you know, you like Jessica Lange's character, but, you know, she uses shady ways to create doubt in the courtroom by saying that, well, these people are, some of the people giving testimony are Jewish, and so they must have biases against against her father, and which is, you know, it's shady in way. But again, she's a lawyer, right? So she has to find way to create doubt. But what saves the film is the performances, because not just Jessica Lange, but also Armin Mueller-Stahl is incredible. And there's a scene towards the end when she gets, you know, spoiler alert, she gets evidence even after he wins the case. They didn't have enough evidence to prosecute him. He wins the case, and then she gets evidence that it's all true. She gets all these photographs in a music box. I won't go into the details of how that happened, and then she gets all these photos of him, you know, killing people with guns up against people's heads and stuff like that. And so she knows now definitely it's true. And, you know, she see the agony in her in discovering that. And as she approaches him and says she never wants to see him again, and she really tears into him, and he gets really mad back. And he's, you know, because she says, you can't see your grandson again. And he's like, well, you can't take him away from me, and all these kinds of things. But again, that's what really saves it. But it's just a shame that they really went all for like a really commercial plot, and they used the Nazi story as a device as opposed to really going into the characters, because I really wanted to know more, particularly about the Armin Mueller-Stahl character. But again, worth seeing for the performances. And Costa-Gavras, you know, is a really good director. So I got to be honest, I expected more, but it is what it is. But again, the performances are fantastic. Last one, spine number 246. This is Losing Isaiah, which I just watched yesterday. When a crack-addicted single mother accidentally leaves her baby in a dumpster while high, the child is adopted by a warm-hearted social worker. Years later, the mother has gone through rehab and holds a steady job, and upon learning that her child is still alive, challenges for custody. This only has a couple of features, as opposed to the other ones that have many features. 1080p high definition presentation from a 2K scan. Normal Messy Lives. Production designer Janine Opalwall on Losing Isaiah. That was done this year, 2023. Archival interview with actress Halle Berry from 1995. This actually has a great cast. I mean, we see, you know, David Strathairn, Cuba Gooding Jr., Samuel L. Jackson, Halle Berry, Jessica Lange. So let's just show the Blu-ray. There's the front, and here's our back. If you want to take a closer look at all the features and the plot, you can take a screenshot. Let's take a look at the inside. There's this sticker on the disc. Again, those great photos and a really nice... Oh, this is well, I have mixed feelings about that scene. It's a great scene in some ways, but beautifully acted. But that's a great photo on the inside. So, you know, I went into this knowing that, you know, it didn't get a great reception at the time. Jessica Lange didn't you know, was open about the fact that she didn't like it. She said it didn't even have an ending. And so, you know, again, I was sort of still kept an open mind, but I knew it wasn't perceived well. And I found myself really getting engaged with it. I mean, first of all, the performances are incredible. Not just Jessica Lange, but Halle Berry gives a stunning performance. The depth of feeling that she can go to is really, really good. Everyone's great in it. Samuel L. Jackson, David Strathairn. It's fantastic. It's, you know, performance-wise, fantastic. And, you know, after it was finished, I just felt, well, something's not right about this, and I wasn't quite sure what. And it's centering around themes that I really don't know much about. I mean, for, you know, custody, a custody trial, and of course this element of, you know, we have a white family who are taking care of a black child, and whether that is going to be good in the future for a black child to be with white parents. And then on the other hand, is it good to return a child back to his mother who was a crack addict and left him in a garbage can? And, you know, and now he's emotionally attached to his step-parents, you know, the parents who adopted him. And so again, these are complicated questions, but they they seemed to approach it in a simplistic way, and it ended in a way which was odd, because spoiler alert, you know, Halle Berry wins the case, she gets the child back, and the child's unhappy, you know, naturally. He wants to go home. He's not even talking to Halle Berry, Halle Berry's character. And so she decides to call Jessica Lange's character and for help, and basically says, well, I'm not going to give him back to you, but he should stay with you for now, and we'll have to figure out, you know, a way to ease him into this. And so I just thought, would anyone really do that? Because I can understand from a moment of desperation and getting really sad and at a loss. You know, she's a single mother too, and not knowing what to do, because he wouldn't, you know, he was having tantrums, he was not talking to her, and feeling like, oh my God, I know his mother can help. Well, the mother, see, it's complicated, right? The mother who adopted him. But, you know, even though we follow emotional impulses, I just thought, would she really do that? That's like the worst thing you can do, because I know things are not rational all the time, and we make impulsive decisions that are not in our best interest, that we don't think through. But I just thought, would she really do that? I mean, because really that's the worst thing you could do, because he's just, you know, as soon as that mother goes home, who Jessica Lange plays, it's just going to be the same story again. So I imagine you'd have to, you know, cut off ties as much as you can, at least for a while, until he really accepts his new mother and forms a bond with her. I just thought, why did they end it like that? Not only that, they portray Jessica Lange, I mean, in the scene here on the inside, I mean, I can understand that she's hurt and furious with Halle Berry, because Halle Berry's taking her adopted child back. But I mean, she's racist towards her, and I thought, why? I mean, why would she say these racist comments towards her when she adopted a black child? I just thought, you know, I can understand being angry or maybe get mad at someone, but I just thought it was just so distasteful. I just didn't quite buy that. And so again, it has problems. In the Cuba Gooding Jr., his character, he didn't seem to be much point other than to make the audience think that he'll be the father in the future, perhaps. You know, when Samuel L. Jackson says to Halle Berry, oh yeah, don't get involved with this guy because it'll hurt. He's the lawyer, Samuel L. Jackson, Halle Berry's lawyer in this. And he's like, well, don't get involved with him because it'll ruin the chances for you to win the case. And because he was actually married, he's separated, so he's like, don't get involved. And then he's like, I'm gonna leave my wife, and you know, because he says they hadn't talked for years anyways, and now he's gonna divorce her. And so the hope is that he'll be like with Halle Berry, and I guess they'll have a family. But I just thought, you know, why sort of soften everything? And again, it just went into something that was more commercial, and sort of a simplification of these really interesting, complex issues. And, you know, again, it's a shame. But again, what saves it is the performances, because it is really compelling. I mean, I found myself getting really emotional often. It's got powerful scenes with Jessica Lange and Halle Berry and everybody. And so it's worth seeing. You know, I was on Letterboxd, and there was a lot of mixed reviews about it, but some people really enjoy it. So there's another one to see. So we have our 4 here, and again, I will put these all back. I'll just show everybody very, very quickly. The little photo on the back, like I said, it very, very easily goes in. And there we have it. And so again, this is a study in acting. This is an acting course from one of the all-time great actors, Jessica Lange. So Imprint Films, Via Vision, thank you so much for sending it to me. And if you're an actor or a film buff or a physical media collector, get this. I highly, highly recommend it, and I will leave the link in the description box for where you can order it. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I want to thank all of my members on Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, head over to the link patreon.com/RobertBellissimo@the-movies for full details. You can also leave a donation directly to my YouTube channel by pressing the thanks link, which you will find right below the video frame. Just click on the thanks link, and from there you can leave a donation if you choose to. And lastly, if this is your first time here on my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. It is absolutely free. By clicking the Robert Bellissimo at the Movies logo, you will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left. In just a second, just click on that and then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new videos. If you have this box set from Imprint Films, comment below. Let me know what you think of it. Thank you so much, everyone. I will see you in the next video.